Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm starting a series called Ham Radio Without a Radio. Years ago I started in ham radio well before I even had a radio, and I wanted to share with you how I did that and how you're able to do that too without having to spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on a radio. Using some of these tools and methods just on this computer here, I'm able to receive images using SSTV. I'm able to listen to Parks on the Air activations happen, which is something that I don't currently have a radio for, and I enjoy listening to so that I can kind of figure out the process. I've been using protocols such as FT8 with Whisper and figuring out how those things work, and I've been able to do that without actually owning an HF radio. Using some open source tools and online websites, I'm able to receive those signals real time and decode them just like I had a radio. The only thing is you're unable to transmit, so you can do this without even having a ham radio license. I've been receiving SSTV images all day long without actually owning an HF radio, and you can do the same with some open source software. This entire series is dedicated to doing ham radio without owning a radio. Be sure to check out the link in the description box below where you can see my entire playlist for the Ham Radio with No Radio series, where you can learn how to do these type of things without owning a radio. There's tons of fun that can be had before you have to delve into purchasing a radio. It is how I got started, and using these kind of tools, I was able to get a ton of experience and knowledge about amateur radio without actually having to own a radio before the exam. Let's jump right into this. We need a few pieces of software if you don't already have them installed. The first one is MMSSTV, and what this does is it actually turns the audio that you receive into an image, so you don't have to have a radio, you just need to receive the audio from the air. We'll be using a service called KiwiSDR where people have SDR, software-defined radio modules, and they actually make it available to receive on the internet. So you don't actually have to have hardware or a radio or an antenna or anything in order to receive SSTV images. And a lot of the videos in this series will be based off of the KiwiSDR and other tools like that. So first off, we're going to start by downloading MMSSTV. This is Windows. I just download. The links for all this software will be available in the description box. Be sure to check that out to be able to get these downloaded and installed. I just go with the defaults on all this. It's super simple. Next, 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 next. We do not want to launch it just yet. Another tool that we're going to need is VB Audio. What this is, it's a virtual audio cable. So if you think about plugging in a jumper cable from the headphone jack to the microphone jack, that's basically what this is doing, but virtually. So again, you don't even need the wire. But if you click download, there is a paid version. I personally have bought this paid version to support them. You get extra cables so you can do different things at different times, and the free version. So you download the free version, it shows up as a zip package. I extract the entire zip package before I run this, and I just extract it in the downloads. This is a setup, so you don't have to have these files afterwards. Right click setup _64 and click run as administrator, and yes, and install driver. So what this is going to do, it's going to install an audio driver on your computer, so you can have audio from one application go into the microphone in another application. So we're going to let this install. It just takes a couple minutes for it. So now we've got that installed, and let me show you how this works. So if you go to your start menu and type in sound, change system sounds, it's the easiest way to get to the old menu in Windows 11, and you'll see a new cable output and cable input. So those are this is the microphone, and you can open it up and you can see it's a microphone. You can change the audio levels. Again, I'm rolling with the default here. Cable input. So at this point we have the VB cable installed and we have the MMSSTV installed. So we're just going to open up MMSSTV and I'm just going to leave that blank for now because we're in receive only mode. So this is where it gets kind of neat. If you go to options and go to set up MMSSTV and go to miscellaneous. So the sound card, this is actually where we're going to receive audio from, where MMSTV will receive that and convert it to images. So if you change this to the cable output, notice the VB-audio virtual cable, that we're going to output that into this, if that makes sense. So at this point, MMSSTV is ready to start receiving that audio. So what we want to do is change our default playback device to this cable input. Okay, so I did end up needing to reboot my computer. The audio was coming out the wrong direction. Instead of going to the VB cable, it was actually coming out my speakers. So I was able to get that resolved just by a quick reboot, and I'm back. So we are at the KiwiSDR. I ended up choosing one in Utah because the one I was clicking on wasn't working. So if you've never seen a waterfall before, so this is the KiwiSDR waterfall here, where it shows you the signals as they're coming through. And if you're new to ham radio and you've never done this stuff, this is one of, in my opinion, the coolest parts of ham radio, is being able to actually see the waterfall and see those frequencies come in and the bandwidth of each frequency. So I highly recommend going through this stuff, playing with it as much as you can. This is great for the test. Learn a whole lot this way. I personally have had the best luck in the 20 meter band finding SSTV packets come through. So we'll click SSTV. If you right click this bar up here, you'll see DX Community Database. Select that and you'll see Community here. So at this point you'll see two things. It says SSTV right here. So these are basically bookmarks. So if you click that, instantly we'll go to SSTV. It chooses the right bandwidth, which is the width between these two bars right here. Puts the carrier in the right spot. But I have found better luck with the 14230 frequency right here. And at this point, double check under setup that you do in fact have cable output there still, and we do. And you see that these bars are coming up. So that means that this is actually receiving the audio now. So the audio from this is being piped into this application through the virtual cable that we installed. So whenever sends an SSTV thing, which I see some activity over here, so let's switch over here to 14233 for a while. You'll see here that you'll start seeing images pop up here, and at that point you're actually receiving the images. So using this method, before I owned a radio, before I purchased a radio, before I got into amateur radio, this was actually how I started my journey, is by messing with SDR and messing with other people's SDR. I once heard someone say, let the other man spend the money on the good radio and the good antenna, and you just get what you can. This is that exact case right here, where someone else has the great radio, they have the great antenna set up, and all you have to do is go to their website to receive it. All this stuff is free to use, open source software, and all you have to have is a running computer. Which is the whole point of this series, is to be able to do these type of things without even owning any hardware. This is how I got started on my journey. Be sure to check out my entire series. Down in my description box below, you'll see a link to the playlist where you can watch this entire series, and you can learn how to do ham radio without having a license or any hardware. Thanks for checking out this video, and let me know if you've received any interesting images below, and thanks for watching. One thing that I did forget to mention, we still have yet to receive our first image, but I'm going to let this go for a while. This right here, the KiwiSDR, it actually supports SSTV built into it. So whenever you start receiving some images, they will pop up here. I will say I have had better luck using MMSSTV as far as those images being more clear. Although you don't have to use MMSSTV, you can just use the KiwiSDR software. I will say in the real world, whenever you have your radio, you will use things like MMSSTV. So I do highly recommend to go ahead and install this, install the VB cable, and get started that way. Because down the road, when you own a radio, you'll want to use the software with your radio. I hope you learned a lot from this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please comment below if you've received any cool images. Again, there's a link in the description below to my playlist for this entire series called Ham Radio Without a Radio. Be sure to check it out and see all the other cool things you can do using these types of tools. I hope you learned a lot, and 73.